Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the Ted Show. I am so excited to have this gentleman on, this very patient gentleman, by the way. Bruce Jordan from Edgewood Children's Ranch is with us today. We're going to talk about the matching donor campaign that we have going on and all about, if you don't know about Edgewood Children's Ranch, you're going to learn today and you're going to love it. Welcome, Bruce. Thanks again for being patient.
Thank you for the invite.
All right, so tell us a little bit about you. You know, they want to know a little origin story before we take a deep dive into what Edgewood, wow, I need coffee. Edgewood Ranch does.
So for me, Edgewood's been a part of my life for over 35 years. The whole point of Edgewood is to help at-risk children and families find hope. A few years ago, I'll say over 30 years ago, just a few years ago, I was actually a rancher. And so I had a single mom, a challenging, situation. I wasn't getting along with anybody, failing in school, fighting with everybody, really ready to go to juvenile detention center. Got to spend a couple of days there in juvie, in the juvenile detention center, and my mom found a place called Edgewood Ranch, and so I came out to visit. I had no intentions on being a part of this place.
I have no doubt. When you're in that frame of mind, you have no desire to listen to or do anything.
Right. I had no plans on following any rules, and so. But once I got out here, it was such a different place. I mean, literally my attitude changed overnight, and I was in the program for 2.5 years, and then got out of the program, kind of went into life, and I can't say that I was perfect, but every chance I got in different situations, or when it got bad, I always knew, hey, it was right when I was at the ranch. It helped that it's a faith-based program, and so I met Jesus in the program, and that's kind of guided me along my whole life. Again, not saying I didn't do anything dumb as a teenager, or a young adult, but it kept me centered, which I didn't have before. And so fast forward a few years, I got into web design and online marketing. And so for 20 years, I had my own business, worked for and with a lot of great companies, had some good mentors, but it always came back to the basis of what I learned at Edgewood. And then a few years ago, about 8 years ago, my timelines, when I say a few, usually are
I
much
understand, my friend. Believe me, I get it.
And so I actually ran into at Sonny's Barbecue our current at that time executive director, and he was actually my cottage parent when I was a rancher. So He was my house parent. And so I had a couple of house parents because I aged up and went to different cottages. But and in the midst of that, he invited me out to a board meeting. He said, "Hey, you should come and tell your story," And while I was telling my story, I made a joke. I was like, "Hey, who knows? Maybe my wife and I will come out and be cottage parents one day." And he's like, "That's funny because there's a position open right now."
Wow.
And so my heart was really led to do that. I mentored people in the marketing business that I was doing. So I basically took the clients that I had, gave them to the people I was mentoring, and my wife and I became house parents for about 3 years.
Wow.
And so,
what was that experience like being back there as a house parent?
It made a lot of sense. There was a lot of questions where I was like, "Oh, that's why that happened." So it was weird being on the other side of that. you know. But really, you know, we did it for 3 years. We had some amazing ranchers. We had the older boys, and it was just it was a blessing. I mean, we're still in contact with them, and it really it put our life in a different place, you know. And so after about 3 years, I decided, hey, it's time to go back into the business world. And so I actually merged with a friend of mine that we had been trading business back and forth for years, and we're like, hey, we should team up instead of doing, you know, instead of you just sending stuff. And so for the past 5 years, I've been running an advertising agency with him, and we've been fairly successful.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's been great. But I couldn't get away from the ranch, so I stayed and I became a relief cottage parent 1 day a week. And so 1 day a week I would come and I would relieve the full-time house parents. I always make a joke because I'm like, man, I've been trying to run away from this place for 35 years. You know? And
it's got its hold on you.
It does. And so in January of this year, when we found out that the executive director, Stewart, had passed away from a heart attack, I immediately came, and just everything kind of went crazy at that time. And I was blessed enough that they asked me to step in, you know, to take on the role of executive director, and interim at the time, and now full. So it's kind of came full circle. Yeah. Didn't like the circumstances, but loved the place.
Sure,
you know?
Sure. So tell me, you. I love this because you have a unique perspective because you were a rancher.
Yeah.
What was it, do you think, looking back, now that you have worked with the kids, worked with them for so long, and you were one, and always will be one? What was it you think that was the click in your brain? What is it about the program, about the ranch, that really resonated with you? And kind of, I'm sure at some moment you just realized, God, this ranch changed me.
Yeah. Multiple things. First and foremost, because it's a faith-based program, me getting to know who Jesus is and really getting that was the biggest change. On a more of a practical, you get to see house parents that love you for the first time. I know that sounds bad because there's parents that are parents of our ranchers that do love their kids. But a lot of times it's a single parent home, or it's a latchkey kid scenario where parents are just trying to do the best they can and survive, and sometimes the kids get off on the wrong track, get with the wrong group and stuff like that. And I was doing all of that, and I got to see how a family worked, because the kids, they live with the house parents in a home setting. They eat with the house parents in a home setting. There's things that I have 4 boys now.
Wow.
Yeah, I have my own cottage.
I guess you do.
And so what you learn at the ranch, you take into that, and so a lot of the kids out there, they don't always have those opportunities to sit down and do family dinner, or sit down and have family conversations and different stuff like that. So there's 2 really important aspects, probably even 3, is the faith-based portion of it. That changes your life for this life, eternity, and it changes your mindset and how you look at things. Yeah. And then to be able to see the practicalness of, hey, this can be normal. This is what you can do on a normal basis. And then the school, because Edgewood, the school itself is on campus as well. It's self-paced. So like me in my situation, I had failed and I was a year behind. Because it's a self-paced program, I was able to catch up in a single year. I was able to do 2 years in a single year and get back on grade level. And so, and then we have small classrooms so the teachers can spend the time with each of the kids who really need it, because a lot of times teachers these days, you know, they have overloaded with kids. They don't always have the time to spend with the kids. We're fortunate enough to be able to do that. So we're able to take a kid who maybe couldn't read or couldn't read on grade level, and within a short amount of time get them to grade level. It's amazing. And then,
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, you have these kids also that, I mean, think about it. You have kids, we have kids in the program that are like, I don't care about school. I'm not graduating high school. And then they get their first A, or they get their first 100 on the test. And they're like, I didn't even know that was possible. And now we actually have 2 boys now that are actually going to graduate and are dual enrolled in Valencia Community College. And one of those has been with us for about 5 years. He's been in the program longer than normal, but he's excelling in it. And he, when you first talk to him, he's like, I don't care about school. You know, when I turn 18, I'm just going to go to work. And now he's taking college courses. You know, he's going to graduate from high school. And so,
what a blessing that is for him. It's life-changing, obviously. And also for the families, it's life-changing. What type, we had some questions before we went live.
Yep.
What is the criteria? Is there a criteria for a child to come to the ranch? Is it a certain, like, what is it? Does somebody say, okay, my child has some emotional issues, or some issues at school, or some issues at home? Is there like parameters that are involved when you're screening kids to come in?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, not set parameters. Basically, we kind of define at risk, where they might be failing in school. They have a problem with authority, which is one of the reasons they're failing in school. They don't respect the teachers, you know, fighting at home, you know, not getting along with the families. Some of them could be running with the wrong crowd. Each case is it can be different. It's not necessarily every kid comes in on the same track. We're not a medical facility. So if somebody comes in too extreme where we don't feel we can handle it, we have resources that we send them to, you know. The criteria, though, is the child has to be willing to come into the program. The parents have to be willing to take part in parenting class and chapels that we have every week. Because the whole idea is we want to heal not just the child, but the family too.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
If we can get them on the same page, you know, if we can, through parenting class, get the parents healed, and through, you know, the program, get the child healed, get them able to live back together and see the positive growth in it, then we've healed the entire family. Everything's changed. Everything's different, you know?
It changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
All right, so let's talk about the matching donor. Tell us about what's going on. Let's talk about matching donor campaign, and how, you know, critical this kind of amazing stuff, miracles that happen on a daily basis. I'm sure you know, but tell us how it works and what's going on.
So, so through you guys, or we had somebody that was going to give a substantial amount of money, $10,000. And we had to get donors to match that. And so we've had, it's been really quick. So we've reached out to a few. We've gotten half of that covered by one, another portion of that covered by another, and we're waiting to hear back from another. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's fast moving.
It is, yeah. And it's, you know, it's in times like these, you know, I come from a profit business world and transition it into a nonprofit. So it's a whole different
lifestyle, different world completely.
But it especially in these times, it's critical. You know, we we have a large operating budget, and so we can house up to 40 kids right now,
Wow.
and then we have two more buildings that we want to get open. So we could technically, once the finances, the staffing, we could house up to 56. And so that's the long-term goal. But every year as a nonprofit, you're trying to hit these budgets and these marks. And so when something like COVID hits, everything changes, your events and different stuff. Like we have a large auction every year, and that got pushed into next year.
Yep.
That's a third of our budget, and so we've been really blessed. We've had a lot of generous donors, and just like this program is huge for us. It's the 10,000 and the matching 10,000. That's $20,000 towards helping at-risk kids and families find hope. I mean, that's ever and the cool thing is each person that takes part is taking part of making that change. Some is financial, some is volunteer, some but it's no matter what, everybody's had a role that they've played in doing that.
It's amazing.
So 35 years ago, there was a group of donors and supporters and house parents and staff and cooks and volunteers that did that for me. And I just think, like, what would my life have looked like? My only option was, hey, I was headed to juvenile detention. I was headed to lockup. And it was funny. I have a half brother, so he graduated from UCF. When I ran into, this is how bad I was. When I so I went to his graduation. This was after the ranch and stuff. I ran into his best friend, and his best friend was like, wow, I didn't even think you'd still be alive. Like, he didn't say hello. He didn't say, how you doing? He was like, I'm just shocked.
They could see the path you were on. There was a clear path, and it wasn't going to end well.
Right.
And so that intervention, so to speak, or that the ranch saved you, helped save you.
It's I mean, I just think I could have been not a detriment to society, but society could have been taking care of me when I went into the system. And now, I've owned a company, and we've had up to 25 employees. My wife and I have been married for 18 years. We have 4 boys. What would my life have looked like without the ranch?
Completely different.
And so and there's a lot of stories like that. Like, I'm not the only one. We have a board of director. One of our board of directors, he's an attorney. He was at the ranch when I was at the ranch. What would his life look like? Yeah. And then another friend of mine is a store manager, and he's active in his church, and he's active in the community. What would his life have looked like, And we have girls and guys, we have people that have gone into the military and served and had successful careers. And if the ranch wasn't here, and there's other great programs out there like the ranch too.
Right.
It's the people, like, being the hands and feet of Jesus. It's the people making a difference in the community, not just talking about it. And they get to see a real life example. It's funny. One of the cottage life director out here was my house parent, and so now I'm his boss. So I still say
my friend, but I am sure that person is so thrilled that you came full circle. That's what I want people to know. So you're changing lives out there. How does somebody get involved? Let's say somebody wants to partake in the matching donor campaign, or they want to come do a tour, or they have a child that may need to be at the ranch. What's the best way for them to reach out to you guys? So the best resource is edgewoodranch.com. As far as giving, we have a Love a Kid Club program. So if they go to Edgewood, they'll see that. I know with COVID, it's a little crazy and we have to take precautions and stuff like that. But as that clears up, getting people to come out and visit the ranch, once you come and visit and once you see it, and meet some of the kids
you're just hooked. I don't know how else to say it.
It's an amazing place.
Yep. And so the edgewoodranch.com is probably the best place to get information. I encourage parents that if there's somebody out there who has a child, if we have openings in that age group, just call. You'll talk to one of the case managers, and they're great. And if we don't have an opening in that age group, we have other resources where we can send them to. And so we want to help. Even if it doesn't fit us, we won't stop there. Like we'll try and take care of you.
All right, Bruce, Jordan, what a blessing you guys are. I love your story. I did not know that. It's amazing. Big shout out to Joan, who put up with all the back and forth emails. She's amazing. Renee and Jeff Funk are awesome too. I know they're big supporters. They're friends of mine. EdgewoodRanch.com. There's a matching donor campaign going on. Take a look, get involved, and let's support these kids and their families. Thank you, Bruce. Merry Christmas. Appreciate everything that you guys do.
Thank you, Ted. I can't thank you